me. So a lot of people wanted to know what I thought about Doctor Strange, the movie. It's not a matter of like or dislike. It's about being a terrible gauge for this film, which is exactly what I am. Because, well, I'm too close to it. Visual wise, I can't complain at all. That movie looks fantastic. The actual effects of the movie were something we haven't seen before. I mean, sure, were they a little bit Inception? Yeah, but like Inception on steroids, let's be honest. And they definitely did a lot of the psychedelic, art style of Steve Ditko, the original art style, essentially. And they really took that and they folded it into the movie. And I think that that's so amazing. Overall costuming, while of course I kind of wish we had seen a classic Doctor Strange costume, for the most part, they tend to change the costumes anyway when it goes from comics to movie. They add textures, they add a spin on it, they do something very different. But everything was really cohesive, especially when you compared it to the, regular world. Like when you would go back to New York, when we, go to Hong Kong and everyone's wearing, just normal clothing. I thought that was a nice blend, or a nice mix. The actual sets themselves were great. They were well thought out. They really felt lived in. Kamartaj definitely had that awesome lived in quality of it. I mean, considering it was in Nepal, that makes sense. Even the sports car, again, great attention to detail. They just crafted like a really nice lived in world. They even threw in Avengers Tower, like just being like, nope, all same universe, just don't want you to forget. Just really good planning on their part. Acting wise, I think Cumberbatch did a fine job. He definitely went to that deeper Hugh Laurie end of the spectrum for part of the movie, but early on when he was happy and in a good mood, he definitely had a lighter tone to his voice. He seemed to get the character for the most part, and I don't think there was anything wrong there. Tilda Swinton, she was fine. I'm trying really hard. I'm not going to talk about the whitewashing aspect of it. I don't want to get into that really at all. I'm just talking about her acting ability. She's a good actress, but I feel like in this she was just kind of being Tilda Swinton without hair. But even Tilda Swinton being Tilda Swinton is very competent. So it was originally a little distracting for me, but then I was like, who cares? Chiwetel Ejiofor, or however you actually say his name, did a great job too. I mean, we had a really strong cast overall. Rachel McAdams was fine when she was on screen. There was wasn't given a whole lot, but she tried with what she was given. And of course, Benedict Wong did a great job as well. Mads Mikkelsen was a villain. It's kind of a throwaway villain anyway, but you know what I mean? Like, you're given the opportunity to be in a Marvel movie, and I think that he really went for it. He's just swinging for the fences. Soundtrack-wise, I would love to be able to comment on that, but I don't really remember most of it. I kind of remember the stuff from the credits, which I enjoyed. The one thing I'm really impressed with is that they did not put in People Are Strange by the Doors, because immediately I was like, are they going to do that? Please don't do that. You have to have restraint, and they did, so that was awesome. If you stuck around this long, don't take this as me saying the movie is bad, because I'm not saying that. I'm just going to go over some things that I had a personal problem with, but it doesn't make the movie bad, just stuff that I wish was done differently, because I think everybody has those kinds of lists. They see a film, they read a book, whatever. You play a video game, it's like, oh, I wish they had done this. Oh, you know what I mean? It doesn't make it bad, it doesn't really detract from it. It's just, oh, I wish that. So here's my I wish that list. By the way, we probably will get into some spoilers here, so you also may not want to watch it for that point. I wish that they had spent more time, or at least had stronger scenes that developed the aspect of Doctor Strange, or Stephen Strange, that made him selfish. The fact that they had that scene early on in the hospital where Christine comes in and tells him about what's going on with Nicodemus West, by the way, nice Oath reference there. Strange immediately goes to help. That, for me, was a point of contention, because the Doctor Strange, I know, would have been, well, can he afford it? Like, can this patient afford it? Because that's what I care about. These hands, are lifesavers, like I control life and death with these hands, and therefore I have a price attached to these hands. But he didn't really mention that at all. We do get one scene later on that talks about that, essentially. Very much to that point, but it comes so late in the movie that it almost feels like it's weirdly out of place. And I feel like that's a really important, for me at least, for a really important part of the Doctor Strange character, is he is not a good person. He tells everybody, or he has been known to tell everybody, that he got into medicine because he wanted to save people, but the fact is, like, that's what he tells himself. Like, it really is about him. And they kept saying that a lot. A lot of other characters said that it was always about him, but they didn't really show that in this film. And I wish they had shown that. I wish a lot of his actions reflected that. And I think that would have, for me, that, like, I just like that. I like that a lot. I like that, you know, he is a broken man inside, and that, like, in the end, it has nothing to do with his hands having been destroyed, because he wasn't actually doing anything of worth with them. Like, sure, he helps patients, but it's only those who can afford it, and anyone who can't, he'll turn away. And then we run into Mordo, and Mordo is the one that helps him find Camartage. And that, I was like, for real? Because the Baron Mordo I know, in a million years, would have never shown Stephen Strange how to get there at all. Because Baron Mordo is also a very selfish individual. Baron Mordo wants the power of the Ancient One. He wants to be Sorcerer Supreme. He wants to be powerful. And if he saw even the slightest inkling of talent in Strange, he wouldn't let him anywhere near there, because they inevitably always become rivals. In this movie, Caecilius is actually closer to Baron Mordo. The Mordo I know, you know, in the very first origin of Strange, in that 8-page origin, Baron Mordo actually attempts to, like always, destroy the Ancient One. It's Mordo whose thirst for power inevitably spells the end for the Ancient One, not, you know, Caecilius. So it's like they wanted that character, but they didn't want to use Mordo. I kept waiting throughout the film for it to turn out that Mordo was also behind it, and it just never came. So, you know, that character is just completely changed, and it wasn't even remotely what I was expecting. And maybe that's part of, like, the problem I have, is that I had very specific expectations. Talking about the Ancient One, I didn't necessarily care for some of the character changes they made there as well. Certainly the Ancient One hasn't always been a nice individual. Oftentimes he's seemingly cruel, or he, you know, is just ill-spirited at times. And he will definitely, you know, throw quips and insults around and all that. But this Ancient One, like, I did not care. Again, spoilers. I did not care for the fact that that she was drawing power from the dark dimension. Like, that just flies in the face of everything. Like, you know, they tried to explain that away, but I don't know, like, the Ancient One's character is really only supposed to be there as that, you know, that sage character that helps our hero, you know, and, you know, the whole Joseph Campbell thing, but helps our hero onto the next phase, essentially, in their journey. And the Ancient One definitely hung around longer than I would have expected. And it takes a while for Strange to really take off, which is fine. I mean, like, look, he has to learn, he needs to do all that, but even at the end of it, he's not Sorcerer Supreme. I'm kind of okay with that. That was really, like, who cares? You know, magic-wise, I know it's hokey. I know it's hokey. But I really wish that anyone had said anything about the Vishanti, or Hoggoth, or the hoary hosts of Hoggoth, or the crimson bands of Cyttorak. We definitely got relics in there, and that was cool. We saw the Wand of Watum. I couldn't have imagined that ever happening. But it just seemed like they felt like that was too cheesy and too corny. And I can get that. But I still wish, especially with the Seal of the Vishanti being in so many places. At no point does anyone talk about what that symbol means. It's just there. The fact that the Eye of Agamotto holds an Infinity Stone, the Time Gem. I don't know how I feel about that. That's not what the Eye of Agamotto is. Or, sorry, Agamotto. I just don't know how I feel about that. I mean, like, there's clearly magic in the world, but that diminishes that item for me in a weird way. Cloak of Levitation, fine. Definitely more personality, a little more clown-like than I anticipated. I know it does have a personality. I don't know. That just, like, that seemed a little over the top, in my opinion. The biggest thing, they just threw Dormammu in there. I mean, Dormammu's like the big bad for Doctor Strange. And it's not like he doesn't have a large rogues gallery. There are plenty of individuals that could have been in this movie, and they just put Dormammu in there. We've seen him now. The reveal's over. Like, we already know it. Doctor Strange has already faced his greatest villain when he wasn't even Sorcerer Supreme. So I struggle with where they'll go from there. I mean, they could have easily used Nightmare. You know, Nightmare is such an easy, you know, thing to put in there. Like, he's a great villain for a one-off, or he could come back or whatever, you know, like, I don't know why they went that way. I don't know if that's we're not sure we're going to be doing Doctor Strange 2. A couple of things that I can think off the top of my head that I really did like, plot-wise. I really liked how he solved the Dormammu issue. Like, I felt like that was the most Doctor Strange thing he could have done. You know, to use his intellect, to use his wit, to use the artifacts around him, whether it be a time gem or not, but to use that type of thing and to outthink Dormammu, and I thought that was amazing. And that moment, though, where he literally is willing to put himself through that much agony and that much pain over and over again, I feel like it would have been punctuated that much more if we had seen the incredibly, incredibly selfish man that Stephen Strange was at the beginning of the movie. I think that would have really punctuated that moment. Like, wow, he did it. He got over himself, and look at him. Like, he is ready to be, you know, either Sorcerer Supreme or on his way to becoming the Sorcerer Supreme. These are nitpicks for me, and that comes simply from being too close to the character. And I'm not gonna lie, I was really excited about going, got through all the trailers, and it was time to go, and the Marvel Studios logo came up, and I had, literally at that moment, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to enjoy this movie, because I have such expectations for this character in my head, and I haven't even really been watching many of the trailers, you know what I mean? Like, I had already put myself, I don't even know if I put myself in a mindset, I just knew myself. So I think what I would like to do is, at the end of all of this, I'm probably gonna go have to see this movie again, already knowing where it's gonna go, just to be able to reevaluate it. Because again, I'm not saying the movie is bad. It's just not what I was hoping for. It's not what I was expecting from it. And that doesn't mean everyone can't like it. There's nothing wrong with liking it at all. Like, there's literally nothing wrong with that. But it's just, I wanted something else from it. So that kind of makes me wrong. So I want you to know that outright. That anyone who says they like it, like, I think that's awesome. And I can't even tell you how excited I am that I, live in a world where there is a Doctor Strange movie. You know, like, years and years ago, if you'd ever told me that, I would be like, no way. There's no way there's ever going to be a Doctor Strange movie, because that would be too awesome. You know, like, I can't even imagine that. And here we are. And I think that that's just spectacular. Like, regardless of how I feel about this movie, it's amazing that this movie was made, and I think it really does open the door for Marvel to go out there and make other films that aren't Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk. You know what I mean? Like, to go further and deeper into their universe and to pull from there and not be afraid. The incredible reaction to Doctor Strange, I am really thankful for. You know, regardless of my nitpicks and my wishes and all that, I am truly glad that everyone liked this movie, and I'm so excited that it's been well received, because I just can't wait to see what it spawns. And I think that regardless of me seeing it again, if my opinion changes, if it doesn't, who cares? I think the next time I see Doctor Strange in a film, I already think that it's going to be a stronger showing for me. The mid-credit scene, with I don't want to again, like, this is spoilers, and now we're kind of out of spoiler territory, but that mid-credit scene for me was what I had wanted. In those few moments, I got exactly what I had wanted, and that paired with the way that the final fight was resolved gave me true hope for myself and also for where this was going. So I guess that's kind of it, guys. I really wish that I could have just been bouncing off the walls and, like, been talking about how I was just like, but, like, I really just started thinking more and more about this, and it's why I didn't want to shoot anything the other night when I first got out of the theater, because I wasn't in a good mind frame. You know, I wasn't in a good mindset to do that. So I wanted to get all my thoughts together and just come at it as fairly as I could, and I hope I did. You know, like I said, I think it's a stunning movie. I think it's visually beautiful, and I am so excited that people like it, and I'm so excited that it's well received, but I realize that my love of the character is the problem for me. And that's such a weird thing to say, but that's what it is. And this doesn't diminish my thought on Marvel movies, and this doesn't diminish my love of the character or the comics or anything like that. It's just what it is. And I guess that's kind of it. Thank you guys for watching this. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.